Do you know how powerful you are?
Welcome to Rise Urban Nation.
Welcome everybody to Rise Urban Nation.
Reshaping and elevating your mindset to help you achieve what you believe.
Sometimes we don't even see our own greatness. You can't be what you can't see.
And connecting Black cultures to build a community of talent and success.
Black people need to realize that they are assets. You are an asset.
When we rise, you rise.
Come together as a group.
This is Rise Urban Nation with Terrell Simmons.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And in this edition of Risepreneurs, I get to speak to an amazing gentleman by the name of Devon Phillips. He has been an entrepreneur since, I want to say the age 18, if I remember correctly. He did everything from startup acquisitions, had $500 million in online sales. He tells a story about how he dropped out of college and got into the startup world, eventually sold a SaaS startup he had for about 7 figures, but went through a little bit of a pivot in life where he became more interested in the psychedelic treatment, love talk, and really uses that in any endeavors that he has today. And I really appreciate him, bringing psychedelic and love talk to the forefront of the conversation, because it's something that I often do as well, although I have not explored it as deeply as he has. So he has some great insights on that. He'll talk a little bit about his neuroscience endeavors, philosophy, music, and how this all is kind of interconnected with the self and moving past ego and getting to a better place when it comes to love, health, wealth, and relationships, not only for yourself, but in business as well. So sit tuned, sit back and relax. It's going to be a great conversation. You don't want to miss it. Devon Phillips, ladies and gentlemen. How did we find each other? Just out of curiosity.
Man, Matchmaker.
Oh, okay. That system is amazing. I just, my virtual assistant, she's been on there helping me out with that. That's a new tool she found, and she got me on it. I was like, all right, go ahead and see what you could do with this.
Yeah, I saw y'all and I checked a few of your podcasts out. We can talk about on the show, but heard your energy. I was like, yeah, I connect with this guy. We had some good conversations here. So, yeah,
I appreciate it.
Great platform, man.
Yeah, I started my podcasting journey last year.
Okay.
Look at you and all your books in the background. Okay, I know this is going to be a good one now.
Yeah, bro, you're talking to a bona fide nerd over here.
The book game is strong.
Book game is strong, bro. Book game is strong.
Any good reads that you could tell me to get into?
What are you interested in?
I'm doing equity, diversity, and inclusion a lot right now, but I'm more interested in the history of our Black people before slavery. And then I'm also interested in decolonization and building wealth in the Black community.
Well, so, I mean, I'm sure you know W.E. Du Bois, right?
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, his book on slavery really taught me. I mean, just the gap periods, he in general, all his books have just changed my life. But The Righteous Mind by John Haidt, it talks about like the hive mind, like why we love to be in groups.
Let me see that again. The Righteous Mind?
The Righteous Mind by John Haidt.
Okay.
This one, and then Sapiens by Yuval Harari.
Okay.
That one's like how mankind started.
Really?
Get-go. Okay. Like how it's separated and how everything. It's and then a good psychology book. It's dense. I mean, it's short, but it's like you got to read it over a few times.
Okay.
Modern Man's Search of Soul. Top 3 books of all time.
Okay.
C.J. Young, he's just a visionary. He's a crazy mind.
The reason why I really started this podcast was I'm a young brother from DC. I was raised by a Nigerian man. I didn't know my biological father too much later in life. But in that history, I got to learn a lot about my biological, my stepdad, who's Nigerian, his culture. And then I went on a little journey. And then I grew up in a weird, I grew up in DC when it was like the murder capital, right?
Okay.
And then where I grew up in DC was nothing like, that's why they call it chocolate city, because it's like every type of Black you can have out there. There's Jamaicans, Haitians, Trinidadians, and then American Blacks. And often the American Blacks didn't get along with the, Nigerians. So depending on how I was identified would be how I was treated, right?
Okay. That makes it, yeah.
So sometimes I wasn't so accepted by the Black my Black culture. Sometimes I wasn't accepted by my Nigerian culture, just because it's like, oh, you Black American, you don't know
Yeah.
our history and our struggles. So fast forward, as I moved to San Diego and I started doing a lot of workforce development, and then I always made it a point to give back to the youth. And then what I realized when we go speak to our youth, they had limiting beliefs of who they were, right? And what they could be. So no matter what level of success I bring to the room to them, there's always a good foundation of a few that like, oh, well, that Black person's anomaly. There's only one of them, right? I can't be that. Or if I tell them something from our history that wasn't taught to them in the books, that they find it hard to believe. So, I realized our stories weren't being told enough, because even adults have limited beliefs too. Believe it, like now that I'm in the adult world, doing leadership and development for adults. So our stories are not being told enough. So what I this platform is to do is tell our stories and our journeys until we believe that it could be true, right?
I love that. Yeah, I have a similar story too. So no, we're gonna connect definitely. I love that story.
Okay, well, let's just jump into it. Tell me your story.
Yeah, man. So I mean, born and raised in West Texas, so Yeehaw County, essentially. Man. Lubbock, Texas.
That's a tough place to be raised in. As a Black man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of us. God, guns, football, oil, and cotton. That's about the only thing that we had. But so it taught me there's beautiful people everywhere, right? Even if I don't agree with them. But you don't agree with someone really when you're in that bubble all the time, right? So I became an entrepreneur, and on accident, essentially. Not even, I wanted to play basketball throughout college and stuff. I thought I was going to be, a basketball player. Didn't even think about, starting a business. And then my roommate, or would be my roommate, Brennan Cole, he's an artist. Definitely check him out. He randomly texted me because I was in business school. I took like 4 or 5 classes in college so far. He's like, hey, man, I really want to start this business. I don't know what to do on the business side. You're the only business person I know. You want to start it with me? I'm like, yeah, I'm taking a couple classes. Like, yeah, I got this. Like I'm taking an accounting class, whatever. Like, it can't be much harder than that. So we started. We used to go shoot vehicles for car dealerships. They pay us like $10 a car, and we put it on their website. And I was like 19 or so. But I was looking around. I was like, man, there's really no Black business owners in my city. Well, my city is 87% white to begin with. So like,
that's gonna be a hard sell.
Yeah. So I was like, man, this is serious. There's no one. I'm in a completely white room 99% of the time. And I'm half Black, half Mexican too. So I mean, there's a good amount of Mexicans in Lubbock. But most of the time I was the only brother in every room I was in. And Lubbock is not, I say, a racist town. It's full of love, and I don't ever want to talk about it. It's not because it made me who I am today. And there's hundreds of people who love me in that city, and I love them. It's a great city. But you will have your looks when you're in a room, especially when I got more into business. We transitioned from shooting cars to me and a few other buddies. Kind of long story, but we started this virtual reality software company in my city. And we ended up getting acquired in 2016 from one of the largest groups in the nation. So I go from like this 19, 20-year-old Black kid, to a college dropout. Now I have 24 employees. Now I have this big office space, but I'm in these same white rooms. Right. So now I'm like going from, he's just this little dude who shoots photos for vehicles to like, I'm in executive meetings, and I'm this, again, I'm tatted up and stuff. Like, I'm rocking a sports coat, like a Black t-shirt, Black pants and some Yeezys. Right. And they're like, this guy, right? And they don't say anything negative, but they're just like, hey, you shouldn't be here. I think the club's down there. It's just like so I always gotta look. But again, there's still amazing people that help me. I can never get where I am just by myself. I learned to be the dumbest person. I'm the best at being the dumbest person in the room now, like easily.
You ain't got me fooled though. I knew as soon as I seen the books.
I know I'm the dumbest person in the room. The more I know, the more I learn, the more I don't know, right? And then I also learned. I had this mentor, Dr. Mitchell. I'll never forget him. He told me, I went up to him. He's the innovation dean at our college. It's like, hey, before I tell you anything, you need to read these 3 books. And one of those books was called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And a book that's really taught me a few things, but mostly it was like, if you got the skill set and you work at it, the noise isn't going to matter. The product isn't going to matter. Like, if you win, you win. Right now, it might be harder for certain groups like us. And this is what, I had an amazing upbringing by my mom. And she taught me, like, hey, look, you're a person of color in a white focused area. So you're going to have to be probably 3 times better than your white counterpart. Now, there's 2 ways to look at it. You can either be like, wow, I'm going to have to be 3 times better. Like, man, always complain about it, always know about it. Or you're going to be like, hey, I'm about to be 3 times better. So when I get there, ain't no one touching me because I'm 3 times better than you. Like, I know this in and out, right? So it's like, yeah, it's going to take longer. Yeah. It's going to be harder. Yeah. But like, I can't change that. I can't, it's going to be there. It's one of those things that, hey, if it's going to be harder, I can either take it on or let it be an excuse on my life. And so I did that. I worked 17, 20-hour days now, and I'm not pushing for that. We can talk about that. I'm definitely transitioning to like a mindful entrepreneur. You shouldn't use the amount of time you work a day as like a highlight, a trophy. I did when I was 19, 20, 21 years old. And, just because you're narrow-minded, you don't know what you don't know, stuff like that. But at that time, if you weren't talking about my company, if you weren't talking about how I grow something, if you weren't around, I didn't go out, I didn't sleep, I was just in it because I knew I didn't know so much. I was so young, and it made me. I dropped out. I'm back in school now for more of a sciences, and you're gonna be like, what a transition. But it just made me grow up. It was a master's program essentially, like really quick, and that's. And then again, being in West Texas, I had to be me. I had to make sure I was professional. I had to make sure we were doing what we had to do at the ultimate level because I wasn't supposed to be there to begin with. Any mistake I made.
Yeah, I often say the best lessons that you learn are outside of the classroom. So my uncle used to say is, don't let school get in the way of your education.
I love that. I love that. No, man, I love it because I love academia. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'm a nerd. And I've been influenced heavy by people in academia like Cornel West, like someone who I just intellectually just look up to. But, and I tell people, academia, although as great as it is, doesn't reach the streets. Like academia doesn't reach the skate parks, doesn't reach the basketball courts. I mean, you can have people who help bring it, but Cornel West, as powerful and as loving, as amazing he is, if I go to a skate park down the street, no one's for the most part heard of him or listens to his teachings because he's teaching at Brown, he's teaching at Harvard, he's teaching at where he's at. Not Wharton, wherever he's tenured at. And there's just a select crowd that gets, access to him directly. And then we have YouTube. But if you're not looking for that, you're not going to find those amazing teachings, right? So it's like you have to have these outside experiences because those have the most influence also. You influence the culture. Academia is within a culture, but the culture is like bigger. It's like it's through theater, it's through poetry, it's through music, it's through dance, it's through comedy. Like that's how you teach your culture. It's through expression. Expression is the only language that culture understands, right? So it's like once you kind of figure it out, and that's where education happens. And, education is not information; it's a transformation, right? Like once you can transform a culture, that's how you move forward, right? I can't take complete credit. That's Cornel West again. Shout Cornel West. I know you're not hearing this, but man, listen to that.
And the new platform of transformation is podcasts, and that's how we're going to do it. We're going to educate each other and educate the world.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. And that's why I love when podcasts like yours. When I listen to some of yours, like I've been trying to. I have the 4 or 5 that I listen to all the time, but man, especially with the business world. So many people who are not quote unquote have 100,000 or 1 million followers are so smart, have so many good things to say and learn from and energy you can gain from. So it's like, again, like I said, when I was listening to your podcast earlier, it's like, man, this guy has a spark, he has an energy. I know we have a good conversation, and it's finding more and more people like you, where it's like, hey, you can learn something from everybody. And if they don't have a piece of information that you can learn from, you can still take from the energy, right? Because the most important thing we're exchanging right now is the energy. We have words and wisdom and stuff, but how we get off this podcast and what we do after this is going to make change, right?
Exactly. Or who we inspire.
Exactly.
Who we inspire to spark, to transform. They might just run across this, looking for something, and then they find that something they need to change, do that transformation. I'm gonna go back to Cornel West real quick because I just saw this morning that he had a tiff with Harvard. I think Harvard's kicking him out and so forth. And I love Cornel West, but with Cornel West, I in the pit of my stomach, I always wish that he was housed in the HBCU or somewhere, because I feel like institutions like Harvard that still, operate from a white supremacy lens. I feel like, this is going to be, I'm gonna take it whoever this take it however you want it. I feel like they don't deserve and don't appreciate his work as much as we would.
Yeah, I know. I'm always torn about that too, because I feel like he should at least do like at least a half and half, right? Because I am a type of, I guess, proponent to where I say your best soldier, but I hate using the word soldier because we're not in fighting, but it's like the most progressive minds on our quote unquote team should be in those battlefields, like should be, surrounded if they can handle it, because some will get converted, some will fall in love with the, the shiny things. And then you're like, hey, whoa there. Right. But I think someone like him, and there's plenty of others in the community who can take the hits. They do need to show their face in those environments, because they're telling a story in a way we can't say, because he knows the way that they talk. They know that, the groups they're in, they know the lunches they go to, the dinners they go to, the mayor balls they go to, right? Like, he knows how to communicate in their language because he's been in their world. But I do wish he would come, and he might. I don't know his schedule, so I don't want to say anything that I don't know. But he would spend a lot of time in these other areas and stuff, because he knows. And again, I'm saying him, but plenty of people do too. But like, he knows it from the spiritual side, academia from the spiritual music side. I mean, he does. He made an album with Prince and stuff, right? Like, he knows like the academia is only part of it, but it's a complete transformation. He talks about paideia a lot, which is the cultivation, is a Greek philosophy for like the cultivation of the soul, like the maturity of the soul. He gets that. Like, it starts from within, inward. You have to go inward, because the only thing that we share, like, I don't know you, I don't know this whole world, but I know the one thing we for sure share, no matter what, is our humanity, right?
Yes.
So for me to be able to get close to you, no matter what, I gotta be close to my humanity. The closer I get to my humanity, the closer I am to you, right? So to really go outward, I gotta go inward. The more inward I truthfully go, that's the main part, right? The more inward I truthfully go, the more I can get closer to you, everyone in this earth, right? So, and that's what he understands, and also what he taught me. It's like you have to go from the soul, and academia just helps you get there, but academia is not like the main reason. That's just a part of the whole identity. That's a part of the whole puzzle piece that goes. It starts with family, it starts with spirituality, your friends, what you're reading, where you're at, what conversations you're having. But yeah, back to your thing though, I do wish, and again, it goes to people like us, right? We have to bring these complex concepts in these areas, because not only do our people deserve it, and I don't say this to be rude to anybody, but there's no other people more spiritually exciting than a group of, I try to tell my friends about a Black church. Like, there's no, like, but there's a reason. I'm so serious, because not only like, it's like everyone's going, but there's a reason why. I'm using Kanye. I'm not saying he's a great spiritual person, but there's a reason why Kanye can bring a choir to Coachella and atheists will go sing his songs. It's because it's just the spirit that you can't explain. It's just like, there's no other group of people that we're really, really great at providing and producing this spirit that doesn't have a word for it. You don't have to believe in a God or believe in Jesus. It's just, you just some reason just want to sing, right? You some reason want that connectivity. And it's like, we have that. So if we were able to get the also academia part of it, also wise words and philosophy in there, man, there's no telling. There's no telling what we could do as people.
You know what I attribute that to? When you start to look at our history and our ancestry. I've been doing deeper work on the ancestors, because we had a strong connection with our ancestors, and we really connected with our ancestors, and our ancestors connect with us to give us guidance, give us strength, give us spirit, whatever we need in that time. We are actually ancestors in training, and we are who our ancestors had prayed for, that we would break the mold, the stereotype, whatever it is that they were calling for at the time. And for us to do that work, to move it forward, everything you said, you got to do that inner healing, because our group of people definitely needs a lot of healing, and that's what's going to materialize to our wealth. And when I say wealth, I mean every concept of it. Like, I don't mean just money and material. Like, wealth is mental health, spiritual, physical, financial. That's all wealth. And for us to get to a true level of wealth, You have to fix all this internal wiring, do that healing, and then you can release that outwardly.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think wealth to me is like at all times you have a confidence that you can move forward in whatever you try to do. There's gonna be obstacles, for sure, but like when you have wealth, you're gonna move forward. And a lot of the times our people, I mean, there's not light in the tunnel, and that's not having wealth for them. It's not like they want $100,000. Yeah, money be good, but it's like I want to know for sure all 4 of my kids can be successful if they wanted to, and there's nothing holding them back as far as their color, right? That's like wealth to me, I think. But the ancestors thing, I wasn't tuned into that until about the last year and a half, and I guess this is a good time to make transition. So my current industry I'm in is in psychedelic health. So using psychedelics at a micro and macro level to treat patients with PTSD, clinical depression, a wide spectrum of things. So with me being in that industry, and I've been doing psychedelics since I was like 18 years old, I'm 26 now. You meet a lot of people who are, I mean, this plane of consciousness is just incredible, right? And you meet a lot of people who have constant conversations and contact and just guidance from their ancestors. And it's to a point where it's like, wow, like it's almost so clear, and it's hard to understand at first, but then when you get in it, and honestly, when you do some type of consciousness introducing work, whether that's psychedelics or breath work, meditation, some people do it like ice baths. It's you start to see like, yeah, we're this one plane of consciousness where yes, these 1300s is quote unquote 800 years, 700 and so odd years away, but it's like the time consciousness doesn't have an age, right? Like that consciousness you can tune into is always constant, right? So it's like you can tune into the consciousness that your ancestors were running because it's technically the same exact time as now, And at one side, so it's like the last year and a half I was introduced to that, and it's really blown my mind, and it's really helped me understand why we go through sometimes these depressive or these enclosed time periods. It's like we are still trying to get through things that we didn't have to go through, right? Or we didn't have to go through, but our lineage had to go through, and trauma passes. Just like we have things from our parents, the way we look, the way we even act, the same thing is energy passes along too. So you have to, like you said, ancestors in training. I love that. It's like you have to get rid of that, and you have to defeat that for the greater good of the future, also you yourself, but also the future generations to come, and in the future as people together.
Yeah, absolutely. I love. So I think me and you started our ancestor work around the same time. After I met a young lady in another leadership program that I was working with, and she gave us these different modalities to connect with our ancestors, because she's heavily into it, like having your own setup where you have some water, some incense burning, and so forth as a gateway. I can't think of the technical name for it right now, but I think you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so welcome everybody to Risepreneurs. And my engineer's gonna have a heck of a time chopping this up. We just got right into conversation. I got my guy Devon Phillips in the building, and we just been vibing. You could tell it's already a vibe. We didn't have to even get into intros or anything.
Yeah, and just rolling.
Yeah, just roll with it. That's what you gotta do sometimes. So Devon, for the people who don't know you or may know of you, I'm gonna ask you a deep question, and you could take it as far as wide as you want.
Okay.
Who is Devon Phillips?
Okay, that's a great question. First and foremost, I'm a human. I mean, just a lover of all things culture, a nerd. My passions are behavioral neuroscience, psychedelic health, and all things music. I'm an entrepreneur, but I use that tone lightly. I mean, I'm someone who loves to lead teams, organizations for the greater good. So if I say who's Devon Phillips, it's a person who loves culture, a person who loves psychedelic health, and mainly a person who loves people.
Yeah. I don't know why, but when you say psychedelic health, I get what's his name? George Clinton. Is he the man that said psychedelic in his music? Is that P-Funk? I can't think of it right now.
Yeah. I know, especially through our president. I know JFK did psychedelics. I know. I mean, there's psychedelics in our history. It's been varied, but there's a large part of who we are today, from religious views to our societies based off psychedelics. But that's a huge wormhole there that we'd be here for a few hours.
Yeah, we'll be here for a few hours trying to figure that out. So now we heard a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey. I want to take it back before the entrepreneurship journey. I'm assuming there was a job before that, and the reason why I asked this question is because most of the time when I'm talking to folks, I want to show people the journey. Right? It's not where you start, it's where you finish. So what was your first job?
So I mean, my first, I guess, technical job was I was a lease sales agent at these apartments in Gainesville, Florida, called the Grove Apartments. But, I mean, that lasted. I needed a job for college. I was a freshman, so I lasted like maybe 3 months. But my first job, I guess, technically for a long period of time was the one that I told you about earlier. Me and my roommate Brennan created, where we just shot cars, and it wasn't like, again, we would go to the dealerships. You say, hey, how many cars y'all need shot? We'd shoot 20 that day. We get paid $10 a car, and we go home. So we probably did that for about a year and a half. That was like my first full on thing that I cared about, and it took a majority of my working time. Was that we called it Matter of Time Productions.
Matter of Time Productions. Okay. Well, you one of the lucky ones that you get the second, real full time job to turn into a company and sell it.
Yeah, and that was lucky, yeah, for sure. But man, got punched in the gut a good 1,000 times. Technically it was the third company that got sold, but I also had, I was raised by a single mom, which, very, very common story here. She worked 2 or 3 jobs growing up. We didn't have much. We're super broke. I didn't know we were broke until we had money. So this kind of shows her mindset. She never told us hey, we're this or that, she just made it hey, we're going to get always moving forward. But my 7th grade year, 8th grade year, she worked at this one place called NTS Communications. It was the second or third biggest public company in my city, Lubbock, Texas. And my 1st grade year, she started out as a front desk lady making $7.20 an hour. And by the time I was in high school, she was vice president of the whole company.
Woo!
Yeah. I'm smart and I'm I'm go-getter, but my mom is, my mom is the shit. She is a queen. She is a go-getter. She can do all things. That girl, she had 2 or 3 jobs. I played all sports you can imagine. She had 2 or 3 jobs and she never missed a game. She was. But because of that, we were decently well financially going into high school. We weren't just balling or anything. But so she allowed me to focus on basketball. So I didn't have to have a job in high school. And then when I went to University of Florida for a bit. When I came back to Texas Tech, which is my hometown college. So then we started our own thing. I didn't have to make $2,500, $3,000, $4,000 a month to live because I had my basic rent and I was going to school and I had my school mostly paid for loans and scholarships and stuff. So I was extremely lucky in the fact that I didn't have a do or die situation where I had to bring home $3 or $4 grand a month because I'm having to help my mom, I'm having to help brothers and sisters, I'm having to help the family. So I'm extremely, again, what we balling was making more than, $1,200 a month, $800 a month. No, but that wasn't the point. I got to, which is the most important part, I got to have a business learning experience. A lot of people can't just use business experience. They have to go work the job they didn't want to work at Sonic or at wherever because they have to provide. They have to pay bills. So I was extremely lucky, extremely grateful to be able to start my own thing at first. I only brought in $800 or $1,200 a month at 18, 19 years old and get to learn all the highs and lows, to get punched in the gut and get to get the nose and stuff, because that allowed me for the third business to, find angel investors, go to pitch meetings, be able to build business plans, financial forecasting, do all these things that if I didn't have the beginning stuff, I would nowhere be able to do it. And that all just falls back to the support system that I had and just being able to be in that situation.
Yeah. And I often tell people, fail often, fail early, fail fast, because those will get you the good lessons that you need to progress and move forward. And shout out to all the queens. Shout out to your mom, all the queens out there raising fine young men like Devon and allowing us to create and do what we do. We stand on the shoulders of you as well. So let's go to that business learning lesson in your first business learning lesson. because I know I definitely I'm still getting punched in the gut from my first. Because
Yeah,
I just like you, I fell into entrepreneurship. I helped this little company called Google and Tech Startup with a pitch competition they had out here about 3 years ago, and then they told me to enter it, and then the team that I was a part of won, and then we had talks with angel investors and all that stuff, but it didn't go the way I was expecting it to go. Let's just say that.
Never does.
So in that first run at business, what would you say was some key lessons you learned that help you grow and succeed to where you're at today?
Don't take no's personally. That's for sure. My first mentor, again, Dr. Mitchell, I had my first, when I was running this business, we call it Define, the virtual reality merchandising. I was so excited because so many people told me it was good, friends and family. So I go to Dr. Mitchell. I'm 20 years old, 19 years old. I tell my business plan. I'm a 19-year-old writing a business plan. So you already know it's terrible. In my eyes, I'm like, yeah. First month, we're going to make money. Second month, we'll be millionaires by month 9, baby. Like, come on. Like, so I bring this to Dr. Mitchell, and he looks at me, he goes, Devon, I love the energy. You're a smart kid, and you're going to be something probably, but this is the worst thing I've seen today. I'm like, whoa, like, whoa, the worst thing you've seen today? Like, you're not going to like build me up a little bit. You're not going to like, you just like, yeah, this won't work. I'm just like, is this not going to work? What do you mean this won't work? Like, and I was hurt because at that time I took all ideas are my ideas, which mean all ideas are me. So saying no to an idea is that you're saying no to me. Therefore I'm getting shut down. Therefore that hurts me. And again, I'm young. And we all hear like, constructive criticism, but like, really, there's not a lot of people who practice it, right? Because it's hard. It's hard. You got to set the ego aside, right? Like, especially when you're like throwing out 10 or 15 ideas, it's easy because just like, just trying to throw stuff out. But when you have one and you're putting your heart in it and you're happy about it, you already think the world feels what you feel. So when you get that no, it's like, oh, you must be confused. It's like, oh, you must be wrong. Like, I don't know. Did you hear me correctly? I'm kind of sick. Let me clear my throat. I'm kind of sick. Let me say this again. I probably messed up something. Let me say no. So that was one of the biggest lessons. Is like, don't take no's personally. Means people, one, they don't know everything. So there is a small chance that you do know something better than them, and you can move forward with it. But most likely, if it's an older, most likely they know the business side of things, but more importantly, they know the emotional side of things that come with it, and they can see when excited and overthinking things or not thinking things enough. And it will guide you, and they have to pierce it. They got to rip the Band-Aid off, right? Because like, if not, you're so excited about it, you're not going to notice anything that's not a clear shot to the heart. If anyone puts anything lightly, you're so excited about it, you're just going to go, yeah, and you're going to overlook it. So the only way you can stop those, not crazy thoughts, but thoughts that are not, too thought out too well from a mentor standpoint, is you have to be very blunt and you have to tell them straight up. And I learned because so many times I got told no by investors, I've done so many pitches before we got acquired. I got told no hundreds of times. I remember one day I was sitting in a hotel room with one of my business partners. We sent like 237 emails before we got our first maybe to meet with us. Really? Maybe. They didn't even end up meeting with us. Like it was just no after no. But just like in sales, it's a numbers game. Like if I know get 500 no's to get a yes, a no no longer is a no to me. A no is just one more no until I get to that yes, right? Like, and that it gets from like not taking it personally. Not take people don't think like you, so you can't assume. And people are not excited about your project, so you can't assume that either. So if they say no, or I don't think it's going to work, take it as the idea to say no to. They still love you, or they still like you, or they still think you're a human, even if you barely even know them, right? It's not like, so that's one big lesson. And two, put the ego aside, like. Put that ego aside, man. Leave it at the front door.
The ego is such a big thing, too.
It's such a killer, man. It's especially when you have a taste of success. Like there's so many people we can learn from. And, Carl Jung says it best, like, to be an influencer, you must always be willing to be influenced. Like, it's a transformation. To be a great doctor, you must also be transformed when you're given a great medical procedure. You both sides have to change at all times. And if I have a conversation with anybody and we both change from our emotions to whatever energy, there's a transaction, there's a reaction there, right? So no matter the age, 16, 17, 20, 67, 78, and like, if they tell you something, don't always have to take it, but let the ideas flow in, and don't be like, I appreciate your time, man, but I'm kind of the Michael Jordan of what I do. So, yeah, I'm just gonna go forward with it. Like just be like great people.
Even Michael Jordan had a coach.
Exactly, right? Like, loving people love people. Great people are great to others. Like it's a reciprocation. Like the energy of who you are magnifies when it gets bigger. Same thing with money. If you're an asshole before money, when you get money, you're just gonna be a bigger asshole.
Make you more, yeah.
Like if you're a loving person without money, with money, it's gonna be even more loving person. It's like that how you spend your time with your energy. The energy creates a projection of yourself. It's like take that ego out. That ego is gonna kill you, no matter how good you are. No matter how good you are, a team of 10 can beat you. Like a team of people who really love what they're doing and love each other will beat you. So focus on that outward energy of loving others. And it doesn't matter if you're selling a mop, a sponge, the next AI, the next whatever. If you have a team where you focus on that energy output and you focus on setting that ego aside and just being a servant. I forgot who said this, but like the CEO is the servant of the whole company. The CEO is the assistant to the whole company. You focus on that, you can take any organization, profit, nonprofit, friends, family to new heights that you never believed. That's I guess a long term answer for what's kind of the biggest lessons I learned at that time. Just be a good person. It's all these long words to really like just focus on being a good person.
Just be a good human being. And I think people don't focus on that enough, and they devalue what being a good human being could be. Like we've gotten to a space in society in the world today where we've gotten so far past being a good human being that we even devalue people, that we don't see other people as human beings no more. So we're treating them as others or something less than instead of the human beings they are. What does that say about humanity?
It's I say it's the greatest gift and curse. I love humanity so much, and it's so when I talk to the younger generation, only 5, 6, 7 years younger than me, what I tell them to look for from my mistakes too is, especially in the Black community, is that we know what oppression looks like. We know what it seems like to not be treated as a human. Some of us are doing the same thing in a different scale. It's like we have these drop shipping type companies, these e-commerces where you can buy products from China for $1, you can sell them for $3. The actual transaction itself is not a problem. Go sell something. But if you're not paying attention to how that factory is in China, if you're not seeing if they have good working conditions, if you're not seeing if they have enough money to feed their family, if you're not seeing if they're dying early, like in Bangladesh from the fumes, you're not being able to see their kids, a majority of their kids are becoming orphans, you are helping that oppression by buying all these products. They're going to keep on trying to sell these products at mass scale if you keep on buying from them. So it's like you have to be the mindful entrepreneur. And that's what I try to push right now. It's like it's full vertical. And these 18, 17, 16, 20-year-olds, they're not doing it because they're evil. They just haven't thought it through. They don't have the next experience to know what they're doing is causing that. These kids are coming from a background where they've never seen money and they're getting money, which is beautiful. Like we should be teaching that. We should be teaching the joy of becoming your own production and freedom. But you have to see vertically. You want to become an entrepreneur that is not badass at making money. Badass is making organizations and programs where everyone is winning who is involved. From the production, from the selling, from the employees, from whoever, from the community, from the podcast. It's like a true entrepreneur. I don't want to see someone giving a TED talk or giving some convention of like how 10x your sales every month by doing this. And then they don't know where their products are coming from. They don't know who they're affecting when they're buying things, right? Like if you're a true badass and you want to talk to, you want to charge people $1,000, whatever for a talk, let me see your financials and let me see if anyone's hurting from this. You guys ask the whole way. If not, we're going to fall back in the cycle. We're not going to be the ones oppressed. Now it's going to be a group over here and then a group over here. And then finally, we're going to be the ones oppressed again. It's just like a cycle. Is this going to go? Someone's going to figure out a way of being smart. We need to be wise.
I love that concept that you just dropped in there, mindful entrepreneur or mindful entrepreneurs, and what you're taking us into. Some might disagree with you, say, well, Devon, that's not capitalism. If I can't benefit and gain off of somebody else, whether it be lack of knowledge, skills, resources, time, whatever, then what am I doing? Right. So let's go back further before we answer that question. Let's go back further. What made you? Because it seems like a big part of your work that you're doing right now, with as a big psychedelics guy and being deep into education and meditation and mindfulness, it seems like you've geared your life's work towards this now. What made you come to this realization and transition?
Yeah, a few things. I mean, so again, I've always been doing psychedelics. So I've had like the soul shifting, the ego deaths, the seeing that what we are isn't what all is, right? There's a way bigger picture to this. So I've known that, but also I know the hustle life. Man, I had a bad Adderall addiction when I was running the company. I mean, I was taking 60, 70 milligrams a day for months and months at a time because I was, working nonstop. And that was my identity. My production was my identity. It wasn't like Devon Phillips, the son who loves, the friend who loves, the person who takes a shirt off his back for you, the person who will go have a good time, who's also good at their job. No. It was Devon, the good at his job, software guy, business tycoon, entrepreneurship tycoon, which in my mind, that's what I wanted, but was so just like, why? Like, I want this stuff to have the freedom to love. Like, I want this stuff to be able to be an amazing son. I want this stuff like, why is this now first? And I understand, well, you got to put the time in to make it that way. But it's like, you have to put the time in, but there's a difference between making your guest a host. The love always needs to be a host, right? Like, that always needs to be a priority. You get messed up and you start treating people as numbers when the guest of production and work becomes the host. That's when you get messed up. And that's where I was at. And then the Adderall, I mean, I don't know if you take Adderall or if taking it, makes you like an emotional zombie. So like I was like blinders. So I'm losing relationships, losing friends, I'm losing weight. I weighed I'm at 184 right now. I weighed 143 at the time.
Wow.
Because you don't eat on Adderall, and you don't sleep on Adderall, right? So like I'm not eating, but I'm working 17, 20-hour days. I'm grinding, like I'm making moves, we're making sales, we're killing it, man. So like on paper for what entrepreneurship looks like, it's amazing. I'm making a lot of money, we're killing it, growing, we're one of the biggest companies in the city, we're all young, we got these awesome office, ping pong tables, arcade and stuff. On paper, it looks great, but internally, I'm emotional. I'm an emotional zombie. My relationships are failing. I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating. My health is declining heavily. My relationships haven't gotten better. I'm not being a better son. I'm not being a better servant. Yeah. So it really hit me. It's like I'm working myself to a grave with no happiness. What am I doing? Like what's going on? Like what's my end game here? We go public, and now I'm working more. Like I'm have more responsibilities. So I need to shift. I need to figure out how to get the host of my family and love back the guest back to the host. And what really helped is I was even able, this was forced on me. The company that was the umbrella company to us, that owned 80% of our company. The trial's still going, so I can't say who did it or not. But CEO and CFO are on trial, or CFO pled guilty. CEO, I'm not sure what his involvement was. Pled guilty to $116 million fraud against Ford Motor Company. Small company, right? If you're going to screw someone over, go for Ford, right? Yeah. And so they immediately went bankrupt. They had to. They went from, we were going to do 800 million or so that year to 3 days later, the company is saying, hey, y'all got to go. Everyone has to go. So wow. I went from running and gunning, same thing we were always doing, to, okay, everybody, it's over. The things we've been doing for the last 3 years, I've dedicated my life to that. Whatever, it's done. And it was a gut punch, but it wasn't. And that's why I knew it was right for me, because I was sad for my people, because I loved them. I wasn't sad that what I've been working for the last 3 years was over. I was like, man, I should be a lot more sad than this. I've dedicated my life to this. Why am I just okay with it? I'm like, yeah, again, I'm sad for my people, because I love them. I love being around them. That's my team. That's my family.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But if someone could have guaranteed me that day that, hey, everyone that you love here is going to be fine, I would have been like, okay, cool, all right, let's go forward. And that really hit me like, man, I'm not doing what I need to be doing. But not only that, there's this weird ecosystem in entrepreneurship from all sorts of areas of like, this is what you need to be doing. I've had friends who run major companies right now who are the same way. They'll be on whatever. They'll be on Entrepreneurship Magazine and stuff like that. And then their personal lives are just wrecked. They're either coked out or Adderall out. Like they have to take Xanax to go to sleep. It's like this weight, but they are looked up to. Like, man, they are looked up to. I'm not just talking friends. I'm talking about people in general. It's like, I want to be like you. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't want the sleepless nights. You don't want the lack of relationships. You don't want the loss of connectivity. But we have this goal that we see. And I was like, no, I have to bring. So there's two teams, right? There's people who are like, capitalism's the devil, right? And there's people who are like, capitalism's the only way out. and I'm in the middle.
Uh-huh.
I believe that capitalism provides freedom in a sense. Where it gets in trouble is predatorial capitalism, where again you have to beat someone to win. It's just, it's a sum zero game. Like someone has to lose to gain. That's where I'm like, okay, we have to be different. Where a lot of our companies are heading at times. But I do believe there's a middle ground that can be the Michael Jordan of, yes, we are a Fortune 500 company, but yes, our employees are paid well. They meditate. They have good sleep schedules. Like we care about their health foremost, and that's why we're so good. So you can talk bad about us, but we're running circles around you, both emotionally and cognitively, but also financially. All right. So I want to go that route, but to go that route, you have to be a proponent of, you got to do yourself. So that's what I've been doing with my psychedelic work and stuff, is building companies and help with organizations that are people focused, but have a great opportunity and potential for large sums of cash flow in the future to show kids, look, yes, you might not make 10 grand a month at 17 because you can't sell certain items from China or Bangladesh or whatever.
Right.
But I promise you, if you focus on people first, you might be 25, 26, 32, whatever, but you can run a Fortune 50 company. You can have 1,200, 30,000, 45,000 employees that are all treated well. That all love what they're doing, or they all love themselves first. The job's second. They all love themselves first. And I hate people who are like, you got to hang who you are at work on a doorway when you walk home. Don't bring work home. It's like, that's impossible. You're saying that it's not work-life balance. I hate that. There's no such thing as work-life balance.
There's no such thing.
Yeah, that means you're giving 50 here, 50 here to balance it. Like you're half-hearted things, right? It's work-life integration. Like that's the only thing that exists. It's like you are the same at work as you are home. The only difference is a rooftop. So you have to treat it like that, right? You have to be internally whole and be able to focus on you and know when dark times comes, because that's all entrepreneurship is a 99 no's and a yes at all times. It's like whether you're doing R&D for the research purpose, or you're doing a financial, going to get funding, investments. It's just no after no into a final yes. If you can't figure out how to solve that internally, your company or organization is going to project that.
Yeah.
The people around you are going to project how you handle that stuff. So it's like, that's why, again, go back to the host and the guest. Your host has to be the love and how you care and treat humans, because that host tells how you treat your guests, right? So it's like, if your host is not healthy, the guests are going to suffer. The guest at this point is now, if even healthy, is your organization, your company, your people, your loved ones, your family and friends and stuff. That's how I kind of saw that transition of, and also back to the Adderall thing. Sorry, I'm over here ranting.
Nah, this is all good stuff. Keep going.
Back to the Adderall addiction. I needed to get out of that.
Yeah.
And I've heard of people microdosing psilocybin mushrooms, the psychoactive component of mushrooms. And I heard great results from it, not just from a production side of things, but just connectivity of, I'm a better friend when I microdose and stuff. So I started microdosing. I did it for about 6 months, and I still do every now and then. And I got off Adderall. It's one of those things where I've taken it if I felt like, hey, I have no choice. But when I tell you it was a crutch, now I wasn't addicted in the sense of like, it's Sunday, I'm chilling at home, like, I need Adderall, I need to take something. But it was like, if anything needed to be produced in my mind, from a spreadsheet to a whole executive meeting, I need Adderall. If anything had to be productive, I need Adderall. And that was because like production will never quit. It's production might quit in the business life, was like, all right, I need to change a diaper of my son. Or like I need to handle my kids today. Boom, Adderall. Like, what am I gonna do that, right? Gotta go to my kid's school meeting, right? Boom, Adderall. You can't do that. That's not a healthy way to look at things. So it helped me shift that mindset of like, okay, don't need that. Open it up. Still great employee, great, manager, whatever, and got off that. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. So you spoke to a lot of things that just resonated with me. I knew we was gonna have a great conversation when we both came with the same black T-shirt today. That same black tee. Yeah. So I had this saying that I use. It's called "Do what you love what you do. Don't chase the money. Let the money chase you." And what I mean by that is, when you work in an abundance of love, that your life truly becomes one of wealth, right? And you could get to be the best version of yourself, both at work and at home when you're operating in that spirit of love, the modality that you talked about. You know, when you talked about capitalism being that in the middle, I've been exploring that as well as you, and I came up with this term called conscious capitalism. I'm not sure if I coined it or if somebody else had it out there, but where instead of we do the old version of capitalism, how about we do exactly what you're talking about, where everybody gets to be the best version of themselves. Instead of operating capitalism out of a mindset of scarcity, let's operate in a mindset of abundance where everybody can profit, everybody can share in equal success of this to move us and catapult us forward. Because we seem to, in our current society, operate from this fear-based and scarcity tactic, which is unnecessary because there's abundance in the world. There's enough for everybody to have in this world. So I don't understand why we have to operate from that level.
Yeah, and it's and also and I get super emotional about this because they put such a low stance and like, oh, you just want to love others and love an organization like nonprofits. Like, no, I want to run circles around other companies. I love doing that. No, don't get it twisted. I am a athlete. I am a competitor. Like, it's not, oh yeah, you just want to, kumbaya type things. Like, no. What I'm saying is we can be those beasts with this. This will help us be those beasts. Like, you know what's really great? A company of 10,000 people can do something big. You know what's really amazing? A company of 10,000 people who love themselves can do something big. Right? So yeah, it's in the sense of I love humanity, but it's also in the sense of like, this is how you make a great culture, a great company that wins. It's not just like you got to choose one or the other, or you got to be this great capitalism, machine, or you got to love people. It's like, no, you can ball out, but bring others with you, ball out with you, right? So that's like, I just hate that people think it's like, oh, you have to be some weak, thing there. It's like, no, man, you can still ball out. We just have people who love what they do next to them.
Yeah. So what do you think the future has in store for entrepreneurship and the industries that you're a part of?
Yeah, I mean, I think the tides are changing. I think people are realizing that this isn't a scalable way to live as far as the burnout. Because this is the first era of true entrepreneurship. I mean, we've had entrepreneurship, quote unquote, but not the accessibility. So this is a trial and error time. This is a time everyone tests out, everyone work a lot or not or whatever, and figure out what works best. And I think we are just trying to figure out that this isn't scalable. You can either do one, and if you find something that you love, it's somewhat scalable. But like, if we're being honest, like it's hard to fall into something that you love. You usually have to work your way up to something that you love, right? Like when you become good at something, you love it, is what I like to say.
Yeah.
It's I have no passion for hockey whatsoever, but if I was the greatest hockey player in the world, I would love it. Like it was this you start loving what you're good at. So it's like you can't wait till, once I'll work hard when I love something. It's like you gotta learn which we are to get the right integration of it. So I think the future entrepreneurship is more people owned. Hopefully, if you can do it correctly, there's more mid-sized businesses that do a lot of things. There's less giants. There's more companies who are more lifestyle focused. They're just companies who themselves want to make $8,000 to $12,000 a month or $15,000 a month, and their employees, they only have 80 or 90 or 20 or 10. And there's a lot of those. They're all paid well. They're all producing well. And they're all doing something they love.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because we have to figure out something that we all enjoy doing in a creative way, because to get, not get too nerdy with you, but, whether it's 10 years or 100 years or 200 years, like there will be an automation process. We will lose a lot of jobs, and people are like, well, the Industrial Revolution did the same thing. Like, no, the Industrial Revolution, you traded in a hoe for a factory button, the intellect didn't have to change. You just went from this, like this or this, right? Well, this is a whole skill set intellect change. Like you can't go from driving a truck to programming that truck to how to drive. We're not going to ask 60-year-olds to go back to college and learn how to code. So will there be jobs created? Yes, but it won't be for everyone. I mean, technology only makes 8% of the jobs in our country. 92% of jobs have nothing to do with technology. So are we going to fit all 92% to 8%? So we have to figure something. We have to find a way to find a level of production creativity that we can all get with, because either we'll find it or be forced into it. So I think we're starting to get there. Like the lifestyle thing is like, what can I do for you? Or podcasts are great.
Mhm.
It's like, how can I let your creativity out? And AI can't take that. You know, it's like, how can I let you talk about stuff, right? It's like, so it's things like, there's still going to be major Amazon's always going to be here. You know,
Man.
so it's probably always going to be here.
Amazon ain't going nowhere, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And as we become more dependent on Amazon, we know they definitely ain't going nowhere. So
Yeah,
because you've been somebody who's sold several companies. You've had over 500 million in sales with startups, and been very successful. So what's some advice would you give someone who would like to start a career, whether it be in the SaaS industry or as an entrepreneur? What are some steps that you would give them? Hopefully you won't tell them their business plan sucks like your mentor did, but some tangible steps.
yeah. I mean, yeah, right. Yeah, make me cry. So take it to show friends and family if you want. Of course, you want to show people you love, but take it to people you know. If you have an idea that have no problem either telling you how it is or don't know you, that's probably easier. Like a lot of times we don't have a go-to mentor in the business world that can say like, hey, this is right or wrong. So if you don't, go to people who just don't know you, because they probably won't care too much about like making you feel good or not, right? They'll have actual questions because we're always subconsciously priming our friends and family. We don't know it, but like conversation, yeah, I'm thinking of an idea I'm having time. I'm very excited. We don't tell them the idea. Then a month later, we tell them, they're like, oh, this is an idea he was excited about a month ago. It subconsciously tells them how to act, like it's just, so you need to talk to people who haven't been primed, who haven't been primed to like figure that out. And then just be ready for the no's, man. Just like, and treat it not as the final race, but just a step. I mean, if I started out in a media company that we shot vehicles and we did videos for comedians and stuff. I'm in the psychedelic health industry. Like, there's no clear.
That's a pivot.
There's no clear path, man. But you would have asked me at that time, we're going to be the biggest production company there was. And the same thing in virtual reality. We're going to be the biggest virtual reality. So it's like, treat it as a step. And it's treated as what's the core. And if you're young, it's still hard. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know I still know who I am today, essentially. But it's like, what are things I want to get better at? I want to get better at talking to people in public speaking. I want to get better at writing. I want to get better at numbers and accounting and stuff. Okay. No matter what our business is, no matter what we're doing, I need to at least know and put myself out there and doing these things, right? Because like, if this doesn't work or if it does work, whatever, I'm always going to need to be better at public speaking, right? Or whatever. Have tangible small wins that you can mark down. Like, you can say, hey, I did this, I worked on this. And speaking right now, journal. Like, yeah, journal, please. I am begging you guys, like, write every day. One of the book I read, or no, I think it was Tim Ferriss. He's like, he has 2 shit pages he writes a day. He doesn't want to write the greatest thing ever. He's just like, it could be rambling, it could be whatever. He just forces himself to write 2 pages, no matter how the day was, no matter if he has anything inspiring or not. And what he found out is like, by the half a page or a full page, your brain gets going, you kind of start going, right? But no matter what, you're still, it's a release. Like, we have cortisol built up that we need to get out somehow, whether it's talking to somebody or a piece of paper. So write, like, yeah, write and read like your life depends on it. And I see these things like CEOs read 52 books a year. Who cares? It doesn't matter, right? Like, if it takes you 4 months if you're truly reading, to like take in information in a book, that's your goal. If you read 8 books a year because you have to read a book 3 times to fully get it, that's incredible. That's amazing. Keep doing that. If you only read 6 books a year or 12 books a year, I don't care. You're not getting compensated for if you read 300 books this year, right? Like, if you can't be what you learned in that book was a waste, right? If you can't, be a statement of what that book represents, if you want to be, if it's good, obviously, right? You didn't read it. You just went through it. So read with intent for sure. And that can be articles, that can be magazines, that can be fiction, nonfiction. But read with intent. I have a thing I do now where I honestly haven't been that great at the last couple of days, but I try to read first thing in the morning, then I write, and I try and incorporate what I write or what I read in my writing that morning. And then at night, I reread those pages that I read that morning for 2 things. 1, to really understand what I was reading. But 2, there's times like during my day where I've experienced something and what I read has a whole new meaning to when I read it when I first woke up.
Ah.
Yeah. So when it comes to cognitive thinking and learning, when you can apply a story to words, you learn them a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of people think names, they think of pictures and associations, associated part of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that if I've gone through an experience and I read it different, there's now a bigger association for those words, and there's a more chance that I can put a memory to that statement. So it's two factors. One, I'm writing about it, so that helps me remember it more and incorporate it into my life. Then I'm reading it after I've had a whole day of experience to see if any of those stick to what I've read that morning.
Mm-hmm. I've had that aha moment too, where I've read something in the morning. I have to go do a training somewhere, or I'm in a management meeting somewhere, and something that I've read, just automatically pops up in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, oh, there's new context to this now.
Yeah, bro. It's sometimes a slap in the face, man, but it's just a learning process too. And that's, I guess, one more lesson I tell people, entrepreneurship, younger, older, whatever. It's like, it's not an on or off switch. Like, it's not like really like you won't be successful and you won't be happy if it's like not you working on you. Then makes a great organization. Like, you won't have a great company that makes your life happy. That just doesn't work. You won't get to this point like, well, when I make this much money and I do this for my company, I'm going to be whatever. And then it transfers to your life like that. It just won't work. Like, you have to focus on what would make you happy and not just pleasure. It's like, I want to write my mom a check where she can pay off her debt. That's amazing. That's one thing, right? But the core of that is, I want my mom to have freedom to just love how she wants to love, right? Like, is that the actual monetary value? You have to like write down what you want to do in life, but then write those core values, why I think that's what you want to do. Right. And work toward those things. Like, I want to provide a love that's just unexplainable, word that there's no words for. Right. I want to be a person that's a light in every room I walk in. I want to be someone that every day I try and make someone that's 10% happy. Right. And working towards those goals. And although it doesn't sound like a monetary, you still there's still skills you have to learn. Don't get me wrong. Learn accounting, learn numbers, learn marketing, be YouTube all-stars. YouTube's such a great resource. But at the core of it, you being a light, people trusting you with personal information or with being a rock or just being a influence of love, they will work for you like no other. Simple as that. Like, they will see that you are fully invested in them for them being them, like, not for anything else, not for the production. You like them for the production. That's probably why you're hiring them. But the main reason why they love you is because you're you. And if they see that, man, they will take on an army for you, right? Like, they will do things because you would do the same for them, and you have to. There's a difference. I hear people all the time, like, we care for our employees, we treat our employees like family, but they can see you don't, and they can feel that you don't, and we can see that you don't. Like, and that's why it has to start with loving yourself, loving you, because how you see others is a projection of yourself. So you got to start here, love yourself, be true with yourself, can allow us to be true with others. And once people feel that and they see that, man, you can do whatever. If you want to be an Amazon, you can be an Amazon. If you want to be a lifestyle company and make 10 grand a month or whatever, you can do that too. Like, you could do whatever when people truly feel like you love them for just being them. And once you get there, brothers, there's no stop. There's no stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I love all of that. So love on you so you can love on them.
Exactly.
All right. So, me and you, I know we could go for hours and hours, but I usually like to make this podcast a good drive to work. So let's wrap it up here with, what projects are you currently working on and where can people find you?
Yeah. So my Instagram is dphil21. I have a blog right now. I just started like last month. It's called tojustbe.blog. That's where I take a shot at writing. My grammar is terrible. West Texas in me. But yeah, I have a project called the All One Book Project. Okay. And essentially, it's like what we talked about earlier, bringing in the culture, academia within our culture, telling stories of us, by us. And it's pretty dope. I mean, what I can say now is essentially it's going to be a mixture of, have you been to South by Southwest? South by Southwest? I
do know South by. I haven't had the pleasure, but I hear a lot of great things. I'm at the go one year.
The vision I have for it is like South by Southwest meets TED Talk.
Ooh, that's going to be fire.
So, bro, I've never been more excited about a project I've had in my life. So that's what I have going on. The website's going to drop here next month or so. And in the All One Book podcast, I'm definitely going to have you on 100%.
All right, let's do it. I'm down.
That's it. Yeah. The first week of April is when the All One Book podcast drops. But those are kind of things I'm working on right now. And as far as, we didn't really touch on psychedelics, which is fine. But definitely anyone listening, try to go educate yourself on psychedelics is because we need people like you guys who are smart, loving people to kind of change the tone of psychedelics. So people who really need them, who are depressed, who are just in pain, get to them, because it's been shown to help them way more than any pharmaceutical strategy that we have. So like MAPS.org is a great program. SSDP, Students for Sensible Drug Policy, has great resources. Companies that are for profit, there's like MindMed, and there's Compass Pathway, which is Peter Thiel backs Compass Pathway, so it's kind of like a weird thing, but they're a great company. Right. So yeah, just kind of get informed on that, and that's something I think is going to really lead the way in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So get educated on it for the sense of helping people, but also too from an investment standpoint, from a money play. I mean, mental health will always be here. We haven't been able to deal with people since the beginning of time. So it's a long-term play. I really think it's going to be profitable for people who really jump on it and understand it.
Yeah, and mental health is definitely a thing that needs to be addressed and warranted more in our communities, and definitely something we're in need of. So I appreciate you dropping that knowledge. Can people follow you to get more information about psychedelics and how they can use it?
Yeah. So 100%. I post on everything. So my Instagram is dphil21. My Twitter is, I don't even know my Twitter. I'm probably on there.
So follow this man on Instagram. The podcast. Where can they get the podcast at?
The podcast when it drops, the podcast will be on all platforms. It'll be on Spotify, it'll be on Apple Music, it'll be on SoundCloud.
What's the name of it?
And that podcast. So all one book.
Okay.
All one book. All one book, baby. Just different chapters, but it's the same book.
Love it. Devon Phillips, my brother, it's been a pleasure having you on this morning. I definitely learned and grown. I'm still some of your tactics and techniques as far as reading and writing to consume information now. So I'm trying to put that into my daily habit, educate myself on this psychedelics. Looks like it's the new wave, or if it's not a new wave, I want to be on it.
Hey,
so I can elevate myself. Any last words for the people before we head out?
Man, all I can say is it's focus on being a good person. Loving is the most powerful thing you can have. There's no money that can replace it. And also money comes with it, really, if you do it the right way. But it's all secondary. Be a great human. Read about being a great human. Listen to people about being a great human. At the end of the day, if you can only do one thing, is try to make someone 25% happier. Love them 25% harder every single day, and you'll get there.
Devon Phillips, ladies and gentlemen. Just be a good person.
Just be a good person.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Rise Urban Nation.
Thank you for taking the journey.
Be sure to like, comment, and smash that subscribe button. And stay connected with Terrell on and off the show. Follow at Rise Urban Nation on all platforms.
Do what you love what you do. Don't chase the money. Let the money chase you.